Hi, and welcome to another video by Get It Done Home Repairs. Today's project is we're going to be installing an outlet in this hallway because we don't have sufficient outlets when we need to have the vacuum or whatever plugged in. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to come up to this light switch right here, which is going to have our electrical connections inside of it. We did turn off the power supply, just so you know. Even though you see lights lit here, the power supply here is off. It's not on. And what we're doing is we're powering up this. Now you're probably wondering, how is this light here lit? And the way that we have it lit is it's not plugged into a regular household outlet, it's plugged into this box. Okay, and here is how we do it. When we turn the power supply off in the house, we need to have lights so we can see what we're doing. And the way that we can see what we're doing is we have this unit here. And this one is produced by a company called UDPOWER. And this unit here is called a C400, which is one of their smaller units, but it actually works really well for the projects that I'm doing here. As you can see, you can charge multiple devices through here. You can charge up through a USB and any other kind of unit itself right here. It does have a eco mode right here. We can charge the unit by plugging it into a regular household outlet, a regular outlet at home. But what I like about it is that if you press this here, you can see how much charge is in the battery pack itself. It's 98%. And we have 48 watts being used right now. And the 48 watts is because I have a very bright light that I'm using. And it'll run for 4.5 hours on this particular light. We run on here for 4.5 hours. It has multiple outlets, so you can have additional power sources as well. And this will come in extremely handy if you were to have a power outage and you lose power in your house. At least you'll have some lights and you can see what's going on without having to pull out a generator, start it up, and then have to deal with running a cable into your home or the fumes from a generator. This also has lights right here as well, and you press it, and you can see it has lights on there as well. It has 3 different levels of lights. You have high, low, and medium. That's the highest right now. And as you can see, now it's drawing 50 watts of power, because we're using these lights here as well. And it has an eco mode. I don't know if I told you that, but it has an eco mode. And you can also charge it from multiple sources. You can charge it by charging it in your home, or you can even have it charged in your automobile, or you can even connect it up to a solar panel. All right, but that's how I do it. I hear it all the time. It's like, how do you work without the power being on? And that's how we do it. All right, let's put that switch in and let's wrap this job up. Okay, now like I said, we know the power is turned off, so we're not going to worry about that. We're going to remove these screws to gain access to the wiring inside. Don't lose them, because we're obviously going to have to put this. We're obviously going to have to put this switch back in. Next, we unscrew the screws so we can remove this switch from the wall so we can gain access to the wiring inside, and we can install our new wire into the bottom of it. So we're going to take these out. We don't have to take them all the way out. We're just going to take them until it unscrews from the electrical box that's in the wall itself. All right, now we'll just pull this out. And we're just going to pull it out this way here so we can gain access to the wiring in the back over here. All right. Now remember, we turned the power supply off, so we don't have to worry about that. We're just going to put this off to the side. And then we're going to get a vacuum actually, and we're going to clean out some of this dust inside here. So let me clean this all out in here and I'll come right back. Okay, so now after we moved our switch up and out of the way, and we removed all the wiring was inside here, we vacuumed out everything. Next, we're going to come in here, and down on the very bottom, right over here, you can see this is the old style boxes that you'll find in just about any house that's older. We're going to remove this piece right here because all of our wiring comes in through the top of the box right up in here. So we are going to take this piece out so we can gain access to where our new wiring is going to go. So we're just going to unscrew this and take this out. We're going to unscrew it all the way because we don't need it in the way right now. We'll put this back in later on. Okay, once we have it removed, we're just going to take it out. And then down in the bottom of the box right here, you can see this little piece right here with the screwdriver slot in it. We're going to put our screwdriver in it, and we're going to move it and pull it up and out of the way so we can have a place for our wiring to come through. Okay, so after we pushed out that tab, as you can see, that tab sometimes is a little difficult to get it out, but once you push it out, it fell down inside the wall. It's not a big deal. It's not going to interfere with anything. So now we have it opened up where we're going to bring our wire through. Next thing we're going to do now is we're going to measure down exactly where we want to put the outlet down below. Remember, I said it's 16 inches up from the floor. And we know there's a stud right here on this side here. So we're going to measure over from the corner of the wall to where this box is right here. We're going to mark it out on the wall, and then we're going to cut it out. Okay, so now we took our measuring tape. As I told you, we measured the 16 inches on the wall where we're going to have our outlet located. I measured over on the top the 6 inches that it was from the wall to here, and we marked off where our box is going to go. We put it on the wall, and we traced around it, just so we know exactly where we're going to cut out. Now, if you're not sure there's a stud in the wall, you might want to get something like this. It's called a stud finder or stud locator. And you just press it to turn it on, and when you find a stud, it'll start to beep. So we know, so far, no stud. So we know our stud is starting right here. So cutting this out is not going to interfere with where we're going to put the box in the wall. Now, if you weren't sure that, if you didn't have something like a stud finder like that, you could take a drill and you can drill small little pilot holes in the wall to find out if there's a stud behind it. But that's not the case here. So now that we have everything marked out, we're going to come in here with our utility knife, and we're going to cut along these lines here so we don't do any damage to the drywall around the other part of the outlet here. So we're going to cut down this line and along here just very lightly, just so we can have no damage to the drywall paper. But we're just going to cut it down just like this. We're going to do the same thing on this side here. And if you're off, it's just a little bit. It really doesn't make a difference. But you want to try to do it as close as you possibly can. And we'll do the same thing here. Now, do you have to do this? A lot of people are going to tell you, no, you don't have to. But if you want to minimize the amount of damage to the wall while you're working, it's a good idea just to strike a small little cut in the paper so that you don't damage it and wind up ripping it off. All right, next thing we're going to do now is we're going to take a drill, and we're going to drill a small hole in the top right here so we can get our drywall saw into the wall. Now, if you feel comfortable doing it, you can just take the drywall saw, put it in the wall like that, hit it, and it'll go in. But I like doing the least amount of damage to the wall I possibly can. So I'm going to start it with a drill. Nice and slow. Okay. Next we're going to take our drywall saw, bring it in over here, tap it in, and then we're going to follow that line all the way down. If you don't have a drywall saw, you can just use a hacksaw blade. Take a hacksaw blade, put it in the wall, and you can cut down with the hacksaw blade the same way you do with the drywall saw. Okay, then we're just going to turn it. We'll do the exact same thing up top. Okay, or like I said, you can use the drywall saw itself. Just put it on the wall just like this, and you tap it in. Just like that. And you can do the same thing with a drywall saw. You want to be careful with this because you don't want to do a cut that's going to be incorrect, because you won't be able to put the outlet or the box in the wall. Same thing up here, just to align. Okay, so now we have those cut. Next, we're going to cut it across here, and we'll take that out totally. Now, I want to just tell you this. Now we're going to cut it across all the way over here. But before we do that, I want to make my incision up here with this, so that way when we cut it across here and we hit it with the saw up here, we don't crack it and wind up a big chunk out of it. So we're just going to make a small cut like this in here. And now we have that cut out and this cut out. So now we're just going to cut it along here like this. Remember, slow is always better than cutting it out and doing any kind of damage to it. Okay, same thing down here now. And now our drywall is cut out to accept our outlet, or I should say our box. So now we take our box. I will tell you this, before you screw this in the wall, put a little bit of WD-40 or some penetrating oil on here. It'll make these pieces turn in a lot easier, because with these new boxes today, it's a little difficult sometimes to tighten it up in the wall correctly. All right, but now we're going to make sure it fits in there before we go any further, which it does. It fits in perfectly. Okay, so now we know our hole in the wall is now correct. So let me go up top, and I'm going to fish this wire through, and we'll bring it out right through this opening here. All right, so now we're going to take our wire and we're going to feed it all the way down, just through the wall here, until it comes down in the bottom. As you can see, my assistant now just came out to see what that noise is all about. Okay, now we'll just pull our wire out through the wall. We're going to leave excess here, of course, because we are going to put it through the box. But for now, we're just going to cut off a little bit up top, because we don't need too much up there. Okay, next we're going to come down on the bottom right here. We're going to take the box, or the box that we're going to install on the wall, and we're going to push this little piece here in, just like that. And that is where our wire is going to go through. So we push it into the box. Leave yourself a little extra wire so you have something to work with. Okay, now we're going to take our box. We're going to push this little tab up, just like that, and that little tab down, and we're going to put it into the opening that we cut out. Push it in, just like that. Next, we'll grab our screwdriver, and we're just going to tighten these screws down a little bit. You see how much easier they are now? When you have them lubricated with some penetrating oil, they go a lot easier. If you don't have oil, you can just rub soap on the threads. It'll do the exact same thing. Whether it's liquid soap or regular bar soap, it works perfectly. All right, now we'll snug them down. And that's it. Our box is now in the wall. Next, we're going to cut the wiring back over here, and we're going to expose the insulation and the wires inside here. All right, so that's what we're going to do next. I'm going to cut this just a little bit shorter, Now we're going to cut it back probably about 4 inches or so. Just like this. Watch, don't cut your hands. Just like that. Peel it back. Take your utility knife and cut around. You don't have to cut it all the way through. And it'll pull right off. Pull the wiring back like this. Okay. Okay, now there's different kind of outlets you can buy. Now I'm sure you've gone to the big box store and you've seen the outlets that they sell in the store. I'm going to recommend don't buy the cheap outlets. Buy something that's a little bit better, because the cheap outlets, you get what you pay for. For 99 cents, you're going to get a 99-cent outlet. I always go with one that's a little bit better because you're not going to have a problem with it. All right, next we're going to come in here and we're going to strip back the insulation on the white wire and the black wire. These two we're going to strip back. And you're going to do it probably about 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch. Now this wire here that I'm working with here, it's a 14 gauge wire. Yours may be a 12 gauge, but if you look on the tool itself, it shows you what is a 12 gauge, what's a 14 gauge, okay? Same thing here. Now, we're going to take our outlet, and if you look at the outlet, it's got to go in only one way. Personal preference, check the rest of the outlets in the house. Some of them are in this way, and some houses you'll find them in this way. In this particular house, it's mounted in here like this. This side is your black wire, that's your power, and the white wire goes on the other side here. This ground wire right here gets connected up on this screw here. Now it's going to be a little bit easier to connect the ground wire on first, so that's what I'm going to do. The wire itself, it rotates in a clockwise, the screw, it rotates in a clockwise position like that. So you want to make sure that the loop of the wire goes around this way, clockwise, so that as you tighten down this screw, it pulls the loop in a little bit tighter. Okay? We're going to take our pliers like this, just grab the end of the wire with it like this, and create a loop in the end, just like that. Okay? Now we'll take our outlet, and I'm going to do this upside down just so you can see it. We're going to put it on, as I said, clockwise, just like this. So now as we tighten it up, it's going to pull that loop a little tighter. But I'm going to tighten it down a little bit with my pliers, and then we're going to tighten that all the way down as tight as it can go. Okay? All right, so that's now tight. We're going to now turn our outlet over. Remember, black on this side here, white on this side. Now this particular outlet here, when you look on the side right here, you'll see that these are a better outlet, and as you can see, let me just show you real quick here. You see how it has that little piece of metal right there? I don't know if you can see that, but you see that little piece of metal right there? You want to strip these wires back, as we did, and put them behind there, straight in, and then we're going to tighten the screw down, and that will be a nice tight fit. If you don't have that little metal piece on there, then you're going to do the exact same thing we did on the ground wire. Create a loop in this wire here, and you put it around that nut. But that's not the case with this one. All right, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to take our black wire like this. We're going to bring it in, put it in here like this. And I'm going to show you this real quick, because this is something I see all the time. You see how much of that wire is exposed right there? That black wire? That wire, the copper part, is too long. So we're going to have to shorten that down a little bit. You want to have that wire, the insulation part of the wire, right up against that little metal piece. So we're just going to take this out like this, and we're going to grab our cutting pliers, and we're going to cut it just a little bit shorter. Okay, I'm going to do the same exact thing on the white wire as well. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to take this and we're going to bring it in here so that the insulation is underneath there, and then we're going to screw this down as tight as we possibly can. Okay, nice and tight. Make sure that this screw here is tight. We're not going to be using that right now. It is. And then we're going to turn this around. And we're going to do the exact same thing with the white wire. We're going to take it and we're going to put it in here, just like that. Push it all the way in. And now we'll screw this screw down here all the way as well. We're going to make sure that that's tight here, which it is, and that's it. Our outlet is now finished. Now we're going to take our wiring. We're going to feed a little bit up and out of the way here, so we shorten this up a little bit more, and then we'll push this outlet in place. Okay, so now we take our outlet and we stick it back inside the wall where we have it. The wiring itself, you want to bend it in a Z type fashion, so that way it'll push in and flatten out. Okay, so now we're just going to catch each one of these screws in here. We're not going to screw them in tight yet. We'll do the exact same thing on this one down here. And now once we have both of them caught, now we can screw the outlet down until it's snug up against the wall with these little ears right here. We're just going to center it because the slot on the outlet itself is slotted. So we're just going to center it in there, and then we'll snug it down all the way, just like that. Now we'll grab our cover, put our cover on, just like this. Now remember, you're screwing that plastic cover in, so you don't want to tighten it up too tight and wind up breaking the plastic cover. All right, so that's all finished. Let's go up top and make our connections up top, and we'll finish this job up. Okay, next we're going to take that clip that we took off on the bottom right there. We're going to bring it in, and we're going to screw it in there to hold the wire in place. It may be a little bit tight to get it in there because you're working around everything else, but we're going to put that screw Okay, so now that we have our clip in the back right here, our wire is up inside where it's supposed to be, and we tighten this down until it's snug. That holds our wire from pushing down inside the wall. Next, we're going to come in here and we're going to strip back some insulation right on here. And then we're going to go back about maybe 4 inches or so. We'll just cut it back like that. Pull this out. We're going to cut around here. I think we're going to cut back a little further actually. Let's cut it back to here. Alright, we're going to separate our wires here. Let's take out this paper that's in there as well. Okay. We're just going to push this wire here up and out of the way so it doesn't interfere when we're working here. Just like that. Next we're going to strip back the insulation on everything. Remember, we only need about, not even probably 1/4 to 1/2 inch. I'm just going to strip it back like that. Same thing on this one here. Okay. Now, inside the outlet itself, you can see we have our 2 white wires are connected together right here. So we're going to take this white wire we're going to unscrew this cap right here, and we're going to attach this wire to these white wires. We're then going to take this ground wire, and you see underneath here, these ground wires, all the ones that are copper colored, we're going to unscrew this cap right here, and we're going to screw this ground wire onto there. And our black lead right here, which is where we're getting our power from, we know that this is where our power is coming into this switch. So we're going to put that wire underneath that little metal piece right there, and that will give us power, constant power, to this outlet. If I connected it up on this part here, then it would only have power when the switch was in the on position. And we don't want that. We want power in this outlet at all times. All right, so let me make these connections here, and then we'll come back. You know what? You can stay here while I'm doing it. We're going to unscrew our white cap like this. Now that's no good. See how these wires here are just, they're not twisted together. They're not even touching each other. The only thing holding them together is this cap. So I'm gonna make these a little bit longer, and we're gonna twist these wires all together. So let's do that first before we go any further here. We're gonna strip back a little more insulation on all of our wires right here. Next, we're going to take all of the white wires, and we're going to take them like this, put them together like this. We're going to grab a pair of pliers, and we're going to twist them all together so that it creates one single strand. I don't know why people did this, but it's been like this since the house was built, obviously. Okay, so now they're all twisted together. I'm just going to cut the very tip of it off, just like that. And we'll screw our wire nut in. This wire nut is a little bit too small because now we have an extra wire in there. So we have one that's a little bit bigger. We're going to screw it down all the way. And you want to screw it down as tight as you can make it by hand. You do not need to use pliers to tighten it down. Everything is twisted together ready. And if you look real close down on the bottom right here, you see how the insulation is up behind the wire nut itself? You never want to have an uninsulated piece of wire showing unless it's a ground wire. So we have all of our wiring up inside there. Next, we're going to take this and we're going to tuck this back inside the box, and then we're done with this for now. So now that we have our ground wire connected in with all the other ground wires here, we're going to take our black wire here and we're going to connect it underneath here with the power as it comes into this switch. All right, so let's take this. We'll bring it in here, just like that. So that's all the way in like that. Screw the screw down until it's snug. Make sure your insulation is not caught underneath it. And then we'll screw it down. Okay. All right, so now everything is all screwed back on. Everything is connected in here. We're going to bend these wires in place here. We're going to push them into the box, and then we'll put this switch back into here. I'm not going to bore you with it. I'm just going to screw it in, and then we'll come right back. Okay, so now we have our switch put back in the wall, our plates back on there. We're going to test the outlet now to make sure it works. We did turn the switch back on in the garage, and we know that the light here works the way it's supposed to. We have a tester such as this here. This is called an outlet tester to make sure all the wiring is connected up correctly. This is made by a company called Kioweets. If you look at my Amazon store below this video, you'll see that this tester is in there. I think it's under 20 bucks if I'm not mistaken, and it'll tell you if you did your job correctly. So let's go down to our outlet and make sure it works. Basically, you just take it and plug it in like you would plug in any other device into it. You plug it in like this, and you'll see there's two red lights lit right there, but that light is not lit. That's the way it's supposed to be. And if you look on here, it tells you two red lights here and nothing over there, not lit up, that the outlet is working properly. So we're going to test it again, the bottom, to make sure it's the same thing, and it is. Next, we're going to go on. We're going to turn our switch off and on to make sure that this stays on and doesn't turn off with the switch. And you can see that it works perfectly. All right, so as you can see, installing the outlet down below is really not that difficult. Just make sure you have enough space in here to run your wiring in there without interfering with any kind of studs that may be in the wall. If you like this video and you'd like to see future videos, hit the subscribe button down below, and when the bell comes up, you can highlight if you'd like to be notified of future uploads. All right, as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.